It's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. All right, guys, so first and foremost, I want to say if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who may enjoy it. Today, I also want to shout out, I got a new patron. Yesterday, I got a new patron on Patreon. And I wanted to shout out my new patron and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. My patron's name is Leland, and the last name is going to give me some challenge. So I'm going to say it. It looks like Mayam A. Khalifi. Leland Mayam A. Khalifi. I'm not sure if I said that right, but that's my biggest educated guess. But thank you so much for being a patron. Thank you for signing up. And I look forward to doing a lot of things with my Patreon page. I want to do some cool stuff on there. So it's good to have you. Thank you so much again. All right, guys. Now, today we're going to talk about Aquarius and the Peter Pan syndrome. This kind of goes along with some of the other conversations we've had about contradictions. I told you guys that Aquarius are walking contradictions. So on one hand, we are these old souls. But on another hand, Aquarius are very youthful in a lot of their behaviors. So you got an old soul, but at the same time, you have a very youthful energy with that old soul. But if you remember, a long time ago, I told you the legend of Ganymede. I will put a link to that video underneath this one. Now, Ganymede is a young boy. Ganymede is the representative of Aquarius, and he's a young boy. And whenever you see Aquarius symbols, with the jug over their shoulder, it's always a young woman or a young man. So Aquarius is represented as a young symbol, even though many of us feel like old souls. Many of us remember past lives and being here before. So even though we have an old soul, there's a youthfulness to us. That's that contradiction I'm talking about. Remember I said Aquarius have a tendency to be futuristic, but still old-fashioned in certain ways? That's another contradiction. Aquarius has a lot of contradictions. We are an air sign, but we're the water bearer, So a lot of things, and they go together. Once you get to know an Aquarius, you see how the energies, blend together, but it's not the norm, which is another thing that makes us so unique. So you do see this Peter Pan syndrome. The Peter Pan syndrome is not wanting to grow up or not wanting to get old. And some Aquarius, it comes off with them having a problem with aging. Some Aquarius have a problem with aging, and they talk about it all the time, or it distresses them in some way. And then other ones like myself, we fine with aging, but we're not going to act like an old lady. I still love a lot of things that will be considered to be youthful. Like every time I go to Panama, there's this merry-go-round at the mall, and I always jump on the merry-go-round. You guys know about my Harry Potter stuff, my My Little Pony collection. I have a collection of stuffed animals and toys. A lot of Aquarius are into youthful kind of things like that. Some Aquarius play games all the time. Either it be video games or games outside. I remember I met this one Aquarius, and she gave me a ride a few times. And the second time she gave me a ride, I was looking at her trunk, and I was like, she has a soccer ball, she had a basketball, she had a baseball bat, and a mitt. And I thought this was the strangest shit to have in her trunk. And I was like, you got kids? And she was like, nah, I just like playing games sometimes, So she had her gaming equipment, in her trunk, because sometimes she likes to go to the park and, and we were like in our 30s, and I was like, oh, okay, So many Aquarius have the tendency to, have that youthful kind of energy. I was talking to one of my students today, one of my English students, and I was telling her about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And she was like, how old are you? And I'm like, 42. And she was like, you're going to the Wizarding World? I was like, didn't you know that adults go to the Wizarding World? It's not just children there, A lot of adults are there. And she was like, oh, okay, this is a Korean woman, and she's never been there before. She's never seen it before, never seen video footage of it. And I was like, yeah, a lot of adults are into cosplay and things along those lines. And she had no idea, because in her mind, you get to a certain age and then you stop doing certain things. But you don't have to. As an Aquarius, we're not going to. So many Aquarius do have the Peter Pan syndrome. And it's okay. Like I said, if it comes out in ways that are healthy or ways that are artistic, it's okay. But if it comes out as them not wanting to have their own place, not taking care of themselves, like some of us, it does come out like that. My dad was like that, like just like not taking care of himself, it came off as him not wanting responsibilities, not living up to obligations, things like that. And if it comes out in that way, that can be a negative, and it can be something that's difficult and damaging to your credit and damaging to a whole bunch of other stuff. However, if you're an Aquarius and like I said, you just like to play games sometimes, or if you just have your little toy collection or something like that, that's something that is not going to get you into, trouble. It's not like you're not living up to your obligations. You're adulting, but you also just so happen to like that. And to an Aquarius, those things aren't contradictions. For us, they go together. I mean, they are contradictions as far as you have the youth with the old soul. Yeah, that is, two different ends, two polar opposites, I'll call it. But we reconcile those things together. Being an Aquarius, you can be all those things at the same time. That's why we're so puzzling to people, because if you are a certain kind of way, people expect you to be into certain kind of things. So if you're an old soul, they expect you to be into old music, maybe old clothes, maybe vintage things, vintage art, maybe that kind of stuff. But they don't expect you to also have a youthful nature that likes to play games or likes to collect, toys or things along those lines. They don't expect that from you. So it's like, huh? It shocks people when they see that you're both simultaneously. Most people usually fall into one or the other, but because of the Aquarius contradictions, we often fall into more than one category at the same time. And everybody is like, huh? How did you do that? It just is what it is. We blend those things together very well. It is what it is. So Aquarius do have a tendency to have the Peter Pan syndrome, but as long as they're still holding up to their adult responsibilities, I don't see nothing wrong with it. As long as you're adulting properly, you're going to work, you're handling your bills, if you're doing all those kind of things, but you have this youthfulness to you, I say don't lose it. I always tell people I'm going to be in the old folks' home cracking jokes and telling stories. I've been collecting stories about my life to tell at the old folks' home. I never intend to give up that youthful energy to the very end. To my last breath, I intend to have that youthful energy. So I think that as an Aquarius, that's a plus. You see, I think it's a plus. I think it makes us look younger. It makes you feel younger. So my papa always tells me that age is just a number. You are how old you feel. If you feel like an old person, you are an old person. If you feel youthful, you're youthful. And you can see it in the person's energy and in their glow and in their spirit, So I don't think there's anything wrong with getting old or getting older. I think it's just a natural part of life. But I think that holding on to that spark, that youthful spark, is what I want to do. I want to hold on to that as long as I possibly can. So I guess I do have that Peter Pan syndrome. And I think many Aquarius do. So if you have Peter Pan syndrome, or if you know an Aquarius who has Peter Pan syndrome, please shout us out in the comments section and let us know, okay? All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you would like to get a reading done, please email me for an appointment. If you would like to contact me, all of my information to be underneath this video. And let me see, if you would like to be one of my patrons on Patreon, that my page link will be underneath here. And again, thank you, Leland. And it's time for me to get going. Bye-bye.